week said has done enough to mental or physical capacity for rehearsals for the series of shows which she was supposed to perform in February. Larry Rudolph, her longtime manager, divulged this information. Larry isn't involved in her conservatorship. What this implies is that he is only given medical information that directly impacts the pop star's career. Larry also revealed Britney was 2/3 of the way through rehearsals for the reboot when her dad got ill in 2018. According to Rudolph, it's always been Britney's decision when she wants to work and when she didn't. He further disclosed that he doesn't want her to work again until she is ready mentally, physically, and passionately. That's it on entertainment news. This is Ifeoluwa Omai, the very best in sports, right after this.
And in sports, chairman of Cardiff City, Mehmet Dalmin, has confirmed that Neil Warnock will remain as manager of the club as they seek an immediate return to the Premier League. Dalman and the club's chief executive, Ken Chu, have held talks over a transfer budget with Warnock, and it ended on a positive note. The club owner, Vincent Tan, had said he wanted Warnock to remain and seek a record 9th promotion. And Warnock has a year left on his deal, but there was speculation he might leave following relegation after one season in the Premier League. He saw his side get a 2-0 win in their last game in the English Premier League with a win against Manchester United at Old Trafford. And that's it on Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I'm Udoka Njoko.
Thanks very much, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, do follow us at Plus TV Africa. For more on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us again. I am Tokumbo Taiwo.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way dey inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every will enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Today's top stories are
and the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. I'm here at Yunus Bashorin Street where the fire destroyed our transformer complete.
The lowest level you can.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, they go beat you.
Now 2,500 and they pay.
it's business as usual, and you know what our business is: to bring you up to date, up to speed, and up to the minute on the biggest entertainment stories. If you've never watched the program, we'll be reviewing, analyzing, and dissecting the major entertainment headlines this morning. There are 4 of us with 4 main stories, with 4 perspectives. Now, that's what I call 4 for the price of 1. This is Tea Time, and I'm Tokumbo Taiwo, here with the regulars, Elsie Godwin, Ife Oshunkeye, and Ife Omai. Hello, people.
Nah, that ain't translated wrong. You killed it, bro.
Oh, thank you very much.
How you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. Okay, so what's up with Burna Boy?
He says he's leaving social media.
Do you believe him?
Well, I've not thought about believing him or not, but I just feel like it's probably for the best for him. Because he's been posting, I mean, he's been funny, you know, so now he says it's not like he's closing down his pages, just that his management will be in charge, and whatever you see from that page cannot be attributed to him. So I think it's a good move for him because he needs to
calm down.
He needs to calm down. So if this is what it takes, then all good.
Oshinkeye.
Now that you have said this, I didn't even look at it from that angle, but now that you have said it, I think this is even a better opportunity for him to rant, because anything he sees now is coming from his management. I didn't say
well, if the management is handling your page, there's a way they'll put their words across. It's going to be well put together,
professional, and it won't be opinionated.
It's
just
professional.
So,
and then at the end of the day, when I saw the headline, I was like, is Burna Boy stupid? Because everybody makes a lot of money off social media, especially if you're a celebrity, like the likes of Kim Kardashian. They get paid a lot of money just for a tweet, do you understand? Or for an Instagram post or stuff like that. So if you're leaving social media as an entertainer, it's bad business for you already. So I like the fact that he's keeping it open for his management to have to handle it. So meaning we would still be seeing stuff from Burna Boy, but right now he's not just putting his name to it anymore. But
but according to him, what they are going to be posting is mainly promotional things to do with his new music or to do with anything.
So nothing about his private life.
Exactly. So nothing about his private life.
And then you also have to remember that not just because you're famous doesn't mean you're making money on social media. Kim Kardashian is in that limelight of products and services and all of that stuff. Burna Boy, before you know, might have not even been using his page.
Well, yes, because it was endorsed by a very alcohol brewery brand. I can't remember which.
And his management can still continue to do that. Like he doesn't need to be.
He doesn't need to be on social media to be.
As social media in terms of like.
No, come on.
Like
as a you as a social media influencer, you know that you need your social media platform to promote this brand.
Because
if you are their ambassador.
Social media influencer. They are influencers of social media. The fact that he is Burna Boy
as a brand, no, you're necessarily wrong.
You need social media.
He is a brand ambassador for a lager beer, right? Which we all know about. Now they need him to use his platform to promote.
Not necessarily. If you haven't seen the contract, if you haven't seen the contract,
you have been posting it on the social media.
Yeah, it might just be this is Burna Boy. Want to leverage on your name to push.
Trust me, this is going to affect.
It depends on what
it doesn't have to use social media platforms to be an ambassador.
I mean, he's on their billboards.
That's already an ambassador.
He could be
at their
promote
them whenever it's at an
You guys would be saying his management can keep pushing that as.
No, of course it's possible for his management to push that.
I'm just saying that you can't.
But it's not a criteria for the level he's in now.
If you are a brand and you need a brand ambassador who has a lot of followership on social media,
that's what I'm saying. Hold on. I know what I want to quickly say. Let me just quickly say that you can't like make a conclusion when we don't yet know what the terms and conditions of the agreement were.
I'm not saying I know. I'm asking you a question. Like I was bringing up a question before you interrupted. I was saying that if you are a brand and you have somebody who is one of your ambassadors, obviously, with large followership, you want them to post that brand on their social media platforms, right? So if you're creating a contract, would you put it in the contract that you need to use your social media platform, knowing that people make a lot of money off social media these days? Would you? Is it a smart
I understand what
you're missing our point. We agree to
that. I understand what he's saying. I mean, you are thinking about the business as a brand manager now, that this is what brand managers should do. But talking about this in the advertising space and what we've seen going on in influencer marketing and ambassadorship deal, so many brand managers have not been able to use their platforms or these celebrity platforms to push out content the way they are supposed to. After signing these people as the ambassadors, they still come back to micro and macro influencers to push out the product. And you just see the social media, the celebrity just posting once and that is it, twice, that is it. But they're getting to that point where they're going to use them more. So if the brand wants social media presence and a presence that would show personal feeling, more like this is how you live your life and this is how your life relates to our brand, then Burna Boy will lose out on that. But if they just want the brand Burna Boy for billboard, for appearing on their shows, for all that, it still works. I mean, the management can be creative to put out content that reflects him also. It takes a lot of creativity.
If Burna Boy's post once would cover more than 5 social media influencers reach. Do you understand what I mean?
It depends on the platform.
You have not really said much. I want you to say something before we move on to our next story.
I was even going to say that when I read it, I thought about the fact that it's Mental Health Week, and I know Burna Boy has been in support of like people being aware of their mental health and all that stuff. So I'm thinking he's using this opportunity to get a clear head, especially like what Elsie said, that he's been, you know, on social media, and I'm very certain he's gotten backlash from that as well. So it's just to get away from that space and really reflect and spend more time with, you know, his.
So having said that, do you think he'll come back?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next story. We're discussing singer Simi next, who opens up about being a woman. Basically, she says being a woman is so hard.
I want to start with the men.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it being hard? Is it hard?
Do you think that being a woman is hard?
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you were asking about the men. You got me. You got me thrown off for a moment there. I don't think it's hard, but like she said, the criticisms come, you know, like she said, whether you choose to be a housewife, they will complain. Whether you choose to do the work, they will still complain. Whether you have money, people complain. Whether you don't have money, people still complain. So I think that is just life generally. For you to attribute it to just the women folk is a bit sexist, I think.
Wow.
Okay, I'm not going to go off the back of what Simi said. I'm just going to answer your question. That do you think being a woman is difficult? And I think if I have to come back in the next life, please, I want to come back as a man, because I think you guys are doing so much. I think every woman should be appreciated for just being a woman.
Thank you.
Not doing anything extra, for just being a woman. What they go through monthly, what they go through childbirth,
why are you laughing?
what they go through.
I don't know why I don't feel the genuineness in it.
Exactly. You know, he's such the advocate. He knows how to advocate.
Let's just move on.
That's so sweet, though.
It's very sweet, and he said it for the sweetness, to get Ife's sweet side. I mean,
that's so sweet, you know.
Well, I would give Ife a benefit of the doubt that he's saying that. I mean, even the fact that he's wise enough to even want to say that puts him in a better light than your response.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Wow.
So I think that being a woman is very hard, especially in this day. Well, it's always been like that in the history of time, and it's not just what Simi said. Simi is giving you the what do you call it, the ruffles on the top. Let's not even go to in depth. That's just criticisms. That's just symptoms of the bigger problem.
That's just a society.
That's just societal stuff. It goes deeper than that. It goes into our economy, the politics, the social inequalities. It goes much deeper than that.
What I'm saying is that it actually applies across board or across the two genders.
And I'm telling you that it doesn't. So
no. What I'm saying is that in as much as you say that women have difficulty, men also have difficulty, especially
absolutely.
in terms of.
I'm talking about, you say that a lot in your logic, just because. So when I say something like mass incarceration, and I say black people are being mass incarcerated, I say, but white people are also getting injustice. You're missing the point.
No,
what that does, let me finish. What that does is that you're removing. Let me finish.
The impression you give is that you you're generalizing. If I ask that question, it means okay, yes, you're clarifying. So that's why I ask it. It's not
what you keep doing is that you remove the attention from the victims and focus on everybody else.
No, I'm like, do not generalize. Yes, that's my thing. You are generalizing now.
Tokumbo.
That's what I'm saying. What facts are you giving me now regarding the woman, the ratio? Not the incarceration. We're talking about the woman now. What facts are you giving me now?
So inequality.
Sorry?
Are you saying you need facts on gender inequality? Have you checked the SSD goals, like the Sustainable Development Goals, global?
Yes.
Globally, that alone doesn't show that there's inequality in gender. Like,
well, we're taking this way far. I feel like what Tokumbo is saying.
No, we're not. You just have to face the reality.
What Tokumbo is saying is, if we're going by the topic we are discussing and going by the things that Simi mentioned, although you said it is the, what did you call it, the rough icing on the cake, if you're going by that, then you can say men also face their own level of societal expectation. But when you want to now go deeper than the less deep thing she talked about, then we can bring in inequality, we can bring in societal
Simi
blah blah blah.
Simi
but right
now,
Simi is not
being a woman is hard. That's what Simi said. What all
and
if thank you. All of that stuff is what I'm talking about. It's social inequality.
It's everywhere. That is everywhere.
And I asked Tokumbo. Tokumbo's response wasn't. I said, Tokumbo, do you think that being a woman is hard? And he said he thinks it's the same for everybody else.
That's what I'm saying. And
that's what I'm saying.
Living can be hard for almost everybody.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, let's not genderize
all I'm saying is, I get where you're going to, but if we are going to look at it as deep as you're going, then yes, being a woman is hard. But if we're going to look at the statement Simi put out, she did not come out to tell us this deep you're going right now. If you're looking at that, then men can come out to say, I'm expected to be this at this age, I'm expected to do this, nobody is handing me anything down to me and all that, you know.
Not every woman can be as strong as you are.
Not every man can be as strong as you think every man is, or every man can be.
Just listen, you don't have to counterattack.
No, I'm just telling you.
Like, not every woman can be as strong as every other woman that is strong out there.
I'm just saying whatever you say applies to men too, really.
Okay. You don't want to listen, so it's fine. Let's just move.
I rested my case ages ago, but Elsie did a very good job for me explaining. Maybe I didn't put my point across properly.
If your statement is about Simi, fine. But if your statement is about
it's about Simi, and I rested.
It's about Simi. Yeah, the question I asked you.
All right, guys, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be bringing you the latest scoop, the latest news, the latest headlines. Yes, the latest entertainment headlines. That is. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Tea Time, and it's time for our next story. Mercy Aigbe threatens to sue blogger who lied about her daughter's upkeep. Okay, so who would like to go first?
I just hope this is not another IQ Bona, because if you are suing people,
but the way she goes about it, I think she's sort of okay. All right.
I just need you to follow through. A lot of people they have ongoing cases in courts. We don't hear anything about them. I think we deserve an update. Once you bring it to social media that, oh, I'm suing this person, please, we deserve an update. Even though we know that according to law, when an investigation is ongoing, you can't really divulge a lot of information and all of that. But you need to carry us along and let us know that, okay, these are the processes we're following. We'll be in court so day. But Aigbe came out. We don't know court dates. We don't know anything. So Mercy Aigbe, if you're so nice, I like the fact that she said that, like every other media personality, they might not take us seriously, which is what the media is known for, which I've always been advocating for, sensationalizing people's issues. Do you understand? Like, maybe a man robs a bank, and he didn't go with an AK-47. He said, man goes into the bank with AK-47, shoots 24 people dead. Just because you want your stories to sell. You understand? That is very, very, very disturbing, and I don't think it's professional journalism. So if she's actually pursuing this person who is saying that she has been receiving money from her husband for the upkeep of their daughter and hasn't been, but she says she's been solely responsible for the upkeep of a child. So I think that is defamation. Do you understand? Because you're calling her a very devious person or a very deceitful person, taking money and not using it for what it's supposed to be. So if you say that about me and it's not true, that's defamation of character. So I have the right to take you to court. So I hope she does this, really.
I mean, it's not just it does. I don't think it works that way. Like anyone who just says something bad about you, you can take to court. If she can't prove that the person, first of all, has enough publicity to defame someone, because defaming doesn't just mean that you've said incorrect stuff about me. Defaming is that you've changed public perception about me, and it's making me lose money or making me lose whatever
credibility.
It is. Credibility. Thank you. So if her blog isn't doing that, she can't do anything about it.
No, you're getting it wrong because sorry, I'm going to come from the law perspective now. If I come out and say, oh, Ife is known for being very, like she steals a lot, do you understand? And that is not true about you. Whether or not I have enough platform, but even if 5 people have seen that, and according to you, you feel like it has damaged your personality, you have the right to take me to court. Whether it's 5, whether it's
anyone
2.
has the right to take to court. I'm saying if it's going to be standing, it's not going to be.
It's going to be standing because if it's
then you have had a lot more defamation cases.
If she has enough,
I could have said
that's the
Tokoba
problem.
deformed me on this shit. Elsie looked at me funny on the thing, and now then anyone can go to court.
Okay, guys, before you guys continue, let's quickly hear what Elsie says there, maybe.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I think she should follow through with this, like Ife has rightly said. And I don't think Mercy Aigbe will pay attention to a blogger that doesn't have the reach. She's careful not to mention who this blogger is yet. We don't know who this person is. But if Mercy is going to pay attention and even send her lawyers a message to, then it has to be somebody that has a good number of, so
and then that can work.
So I hope she goes through with this because it's becoming really annoying. Sometimes they use some kind of headlines and you say, oh, they want to sensationalize it, but what is the point in creating issues where majority of the readers online are very lazy? They look at the headline and run with it. So why would you keep prying on that and making people run along with wrong information? Even if you want to sensationalize your story, you can still take out a truth from it and write it in a way that when they interpret it, they will know that, okay, he's still saying the same thing, right? So I think actions needs to be taken. Bloggers needs to be more responsible, and they need to stop defaming people. Like put out what you can confirm.
Okay,
that's all.
Sorry, Ife, can you hold on to your thoughts because, like, you wanted to say something.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't want to say it anymore?
It's alright. It's not a big deal.
No, she's saying she can hold on to her thoughts.
No, she's not saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misread. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to say basically was that I'm looking at it from Mercy being a fighter, and I think she fought like in the Nollywood industry, and I think she fought, for the past 18 years to raise the child, and I think I just see that I think she's got a fighting spirit, and I think that based on that fighting spirit, I think if anything comes to the worst, that she will fight and pull through. It's just my take. So, what was it you wanted to say?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right. In that case, let's move on to our next story. Naira Marley remains in EFCC custody as Latan against freedom. Okay, fair.
See trouble.
This is the new one. See trouble. No, there's one. They changed the Yahoo to his friends now is Bike Man. Oremi, what's that song people sing? Oremi is Yahoo. Now they changed it to Yahoo Bike.
Can you imagine?
You guys
seriously,
sing it.
Who are you guys?
Okay.
I don't understand. You people.
Well, yeah, people are taking away the
That's the formation of character.
Exactly.
Right.
No portion.
Move fast.
Course. How can you tell me you people saying Oremi?
No, he even got it right. I get
What?
He knows the song he's singing.
Tani guy. Tani boy.
Oh, good heavens.
But anyways, they are switching it now from Yahoo to Okada Men and trying to put out better things out there. I don't know. I'm seeing somewhere
so
that
from Yahoo to Okada Men are better things.
So I think Davido has an involvement in this. I don't know, but
you need to stop what?
I really find it it itches me really badly way Davido gets involved with this thing, because it really starts to look like he's
low-key supporting.
Yes, and Davido is such a big influencer. If at all you don't have anything to say that is lawfully correct, whatever your opinions are about the case, you shouldn't be saying that, oh my guy, they brought you out.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah. But can you see it from David's side, where he's at least trying to support?
I'm not even saying that David is supporting anyone. I'm just saying he needs to be careful in how he chooses his words and how he supports them. So it doesn't look like Davido is certifying fraud, because that's kind of like what is slowly looking
I also
like.
saw a comment from someone who works closely with these celebrities, and at some point the comments were deleted, but it was saying something about the caption being used for Zlatan's release is misinterpreting so many things, that it wasn't like Davido was directly involved in releasing him. So I don't know where that mix-up is coming from, but
it's part of the sensationalization that we're talking about.
The caption was very, like, you know, was supporting you. We say the same thing when somebody has been wrongfully put in prison. We said that, like, you know, free whoever, or you're using the same thing for somebody who is in the wrong by law, not whatever your opinions are, by law. So it kind of like, what are you doing, David? Like, are you saying, it's like I said, we don't know, that's what I'm asking. But it gives that idea a little bit that you're...
Subtly. Okay.
Ife disagrees.
Yes, he disagrees, and he just feels...
What makes you think I disagree?
Okay.
Your attitude, your
body language.
Your body language.
Well, first of all, Zlatan is signed to the BMW. It's part of the 30 billion gang. If I am the CEO of a record label, whether you are a criminal or not, hold on. Whether you are a criminal or not, an investigation is still ongoing, and you are legible for bail. I have the right, as your CEO, as your, how do I put it,
mentor,
as your boss, to get you out of jail, for you to have your say. They're saying these guys have to report at the EFCC post every single day till the investigation is over. He's only out of bail. So you saying Davido getting involved in getting Zlatan out? I do not.
That's not what I said. No, I said his caption, it looks like he's supporting.
Yeah, like my boy Zlatan is out. What's wrong with the caption?
He didn't need to put up that post.
Why not?
The fact that we know
considering that his signing is out, and considering the fact that
not even
out on bail based on fraud.
Okay, but why were they let out on bail and Naira Marley was not let out? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Hold on. No, the story is not about Davido.
It is. That's what we're arguing about.
This story is all about Zlatan and Naira Marley being held back and Zlatan being let out. So
okay, then your last statement, are we cancelling that? Because
no. I'm talking about,
you said the boss is presenting people, blah blah blah.
Right,
and we're saying the caption.
We haven't got time to really delve deep into it. We need to go on a break.
Okay, maybe when we come back.
Maybe when we come back, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we may have time for yet another interesting headline, or we may just conclude on this very interesting story. Don't go anywhere and don't miss it.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. It's still tea time right here on Plus TV Africa. Before we move on to our next story, we're just going to quickly wrap up on the earlier conversation that we were having regarding Zlatan being released while Naira Marley is still in custody and EFCC is involved. I think I should give both of you like 30 seconds each for you to conclude. Okay.
Well, like I was saying, I said Davido has every right to post his excitement about the release of his signee. And Naira Marley is still being held because they said they found very incriminating stuff on his laptop. So which is why he's not being released. So if Zlatan is released, maybe they've never found anything. But a lot of people are of the opinion that, okay, maybe he snitched, maybe he was the one cooperating with the EFCC and all of that. But that's a conspiracy theory for another day. But Davido getting involved, I do not see any problem with it. R. Kelly's management are still involved with his case, do you understand? Because
it's not the involvement, it's the wording of his caption.
What was the wording of his caption? Can you tell me precisely what he said?
What we're saying is that there's an intonation, there's some kind. It's not just
you
me.
Didn't say it, so how can you hear the intonation?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so here is the caption. I had to look for it. It says, Zanku free. People love you, Sha. Oh, yeah, go back to making history.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the next story.
All right, moving on to the next story, which is on Ariana Grande. She's been sued for posting photos of herself, and I think I should say on social media, because this was actually on Instagram, and she posted a photo where a paparazzo took a picture of her, and when she was holding a bag titled Sweet Now, which is the title of her album. Okay, so this is really, really interesting, because not too long ago she came up with her own photo policy. So for her to get in the middle of this is really like ironic, or should I say karma coming to bite her. But I have to say she should have known better, because if you're coming up with something like that,
you should be more careful.
Aside her own policy, it's generally by law that you don't post someone, or you don't use another person's picture
without credit.
Well, it's not just another person's picture. The picture has to be copyrighted. So
it was a copyrighted
that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to make sure that you don't misquote.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
If I take a picture of you and I'm not certified to make pictures or public. Basically, I'm not a paparazzo, and you retweet my picture. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's what I'm saying. We're saying the same thing.
The problem is that I'm saying just be careful with your words.
The fact that you almost sued me for not giving you photo credit the last time.
The problem is that the picture is. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, you go on. Carry on.
Okay, so the problem is that the picture that she reposted is by someone who has copyrighted all those images and has been given the legal rights to produce them and all that and make them for profits and all that stuff. And then she used that same picture for publicity for her album. So already
it just doesn't make sense. I'm like, seriously, why do that? Technically speaking, it's not a wise move at all. You guys haven't said anything?
I don't even know if I want to be happy that it's happening to Ariana, because when we discussed her photo policy, I expressed my displeasure, and I'm wondering why would you even bring up this kind of policy as a celebrity and all that. But it is her business, it is how she wants to handle her thing, right? But for this to now happen to her, I just want to laugh about it. But you see,
you sound like
these photo laws and policies, and I know it's the law, I understand the law, but it is absolutely hilarious in my head. Like, why would you take a picture of me and have the copyright and I don't even have it? I'm not saying, but I don't know, but it's something I've always been thinking of. That it has going to the extent that even if I contract a photographer to take my pictures, I make them draw out something that makes them tell me I can use my picture wherever. Because even if you pay them, as long as they're a photographer and they've taken your picture, they can control where your picture gets to.
What I'm saying is,
if you use it somewhere bigger, they'll come tomorrow and say I didn't give you the right.
That's what she should have done.
I draw out agreements and make sure I can use my picture wherever, because I'm the one. So until the world gets to the point where they need to shift that law, I don't understand.
No, but she should have done that. Do you not think so? She should have done something like that.
She did not contract him. I think it's one of those pictures you see.
That's what I'm saying. But you don't post it until you contract the person. That's what I'm saying. That's what she should have done before posting it.
Especially for the fact that you got the source from a certified.
Exactly.
But you see, the things they have to eat, so they need a law to protect them. Anyways, if everybody used free pictures, then paparazzi wouldn't make money.
Yeah. All right. We're out of time, so we're going to move on. That's where we're going to wrap up. We are now up to date with all of the stories on all things entertainment. We're back later this afternoon, but if you wish to comment on any aspects of the conversation today, you can do so by using the hashtag #TeaTime on social media or tweet at us at +TV Africa. Until then, a big thank you to my colleagues in the studio, Elsie and both Ifez. And I can't leave out the entire production team, as well as our group of stylists, Kudi's Empire and Liz Harrison. I'm Tokumbo Tai, saying thanks for watching and have yourself a good morning.
Our focus tonight now, Governor El-Rufai stands by his statement on Godfatherism. Is there something under this strong voice? And also, what is with the back and forth in Miyetti Allah? This is Plus Politics. I'm David Alabi. The Minister of Interior, retired Lieutenant General Abdul Rahman Dambazo, has denied allegations of giving the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association any money. But who really does Miyetti Allah represent? Joining me in our Lagos studio, we have Lulu Elegbe, a public affairs analyst. Good to have you join us. It's been quite a while. Yeah. And we also have the Lagos State Chairman of the Liberation Movement, Rahman Adebi. Welcome once again. Yeah. Now, our focus tonight is really on Miyetti Allah, but let's start with, who does Miyetti Allah necessarily represent? Some have come harsh on them and say the group is known for killing and raping and maiming and a whole lot more. Is that a true face of Miyetti Allah?
Honestly, no, I don't believe it is. I mean, let's start from the beginning. Miyetti Allah was a group founded in the 60s, 70s. It was supposed to be a group representing Fulani pastoralists. That was why it was set up. And for the first couple of decades after its formation, that's exactly what it was doing. But because of, I guess, maybe climate change, changes in weather patterns, those sorts of things, a lot of pastoralists moving around the country or moving around certain parts of the north or even beyond the borders of Nigeria started to push further in country towards the middle belt and those areas in search of grazing land for the cattle. Because Miyetti Allah, when I say Fulani pastoralists, I'm referring to people whose entire cultures and livelihood is based on raising livestock. So when you have these people coming further into the country in search of those grazing lands, you start to have these conflict situations with farmers because I guess inevitably you have situations where cattle start to destroy livestock that's affecting their own
farmlands.
Yeah, sorry, to start to destroy farmlands, and that starts to affect farmers as well. So you start having these conflict situations between the two, and unfortunately, it's devolved into, those conflicts have taken on a life of their own. So when you say, is that the true face of Miyetti Allah, what you talk about raping and killing? No, not really, no. Have some of their members been involved in these things? From the press reports, yes, it has happened. But would I paint the entire organization with that brush because of that? No, I wouldn't. I don't believe that.
Rahman, with all of the reports we've had in terms of herders, farmers clashes now, Lulu here says that all of these reports don't necessarily represent the entirety of these pastoralists. But now, what do you make of Miyetti Allah, in your own opinion, before we delve deeper into all of these reports we're having?
Yeah, I think my view is the Miyetti Allah has been in the news for a couple of years now, and the major worry, which is that they're given a larger-than-life stature as it is now, because in the news we hear they're asking for money, and when you ask for money and life is involved, it means that you're asking for ransom. And when you kill, or you want to be forestalled from killing, and you are being offered some certain amount of money, it means that you are taking a fledge further into becoming either a terrorist or a bandit group that is using that a means of livelihood that people knew them for before now as a cover-up to inflict pain and a lot of suffering on the people. Because these whole issues snowballed when they had crisis of farmers and the others challenge, and then of course we now hear of cattle rustling. The major challenge of the Miyetti Allah, from what I know, is that the cattle rustling was a major challenge for them. And people who are, perpetrating this crime are among of them. from one part of the country to the other. But what did they do as an organization to nip this in the bud? That snowballed into a lot of things that has created a lot of crisis for every part of the north, even into the north central, and even into the southeast and southwest, as you can see. Because now you see suddenly somebody carrying, who is meant to be moving with animals in the bush.
And a stick now wielding arms.
Carrying an AK-47. What does that mean? Are you telling me that you are using AK-47 to protect those animals, or you're using that to perpetrate another kind of fraud? And from the report that we've heard from Ekiti and some part of the southwest now, the scenario is that the challenge is now with us. So we cannot define if it's Miyetti Allah, cattle breeders who are carrying AK-47 that are perpetrating this kidnapping on the highways, or it's the Boko Haram that's infested the southwest. So these are questions that we need to ask ourselves, that that is generating from the point of view of these cattle headers coming down into every part of Nigeria.
Okay, now let's shift focus to a recent meeting with the Minister of Interior as well as Miyetti Allah. Now, the federal government says that they did not pay any money in all of the meetings with Miyetti Allah. And the Minister of Interior said in Burn Kirby that the focus here is on ensuring that the killings stop in Zamfara State and other states. What do you make of this? Because you talked about negotiations here where they are requesting for money. But what should now be the clear terms? We know government can always come up with a front and say no ransom was paid or no money was exchanged.
In the Nigerian situation, of course, I hear what the Minister of Interior said, that no dime was exchanged. But we know when kidnappings are done down here, in the face of the media, you hear nothing. But underneath, you hear that a lot of ransom has been paid. Even in the case of Kaduna State and the Southern Kaduna, you hear what the governor said at the point. He has to pay this bandit from killing. So in this case, yes, let's take it for the face of it that, yes, no ransom was paid. But the question is, why this crisis on endlessly? The crisis has turned the whole nation upside down right now in such a way that you cannot differentiate who is perpetrating which crime or what. And I think that the Minister of Interior has a lot of work. He has his time is limited now, but if he wants to score a more A's in the face of Nigerians in the role that he's been employed to do, which is the provision of security of life and properties, it need to bring, which is what it's doing, bring Miyetti Allah to the table and let them define who among you, which categories, which groups, which splinter groups is perpetrating this crime, because they need to be brought to book. Because yes, you can go and hand in gloves to say yes, we want peace, but at the same time, we cannot begin to negotiate forever. We need to begin to bring people to book so that it will serve as deterrent to others who want to begin to perpetrate those crimes under that ambience or under that clove of association of cattle breeders in Nigeria. Because the question is, how well are we going to go on with this menace?
From the closed meeting that the minister had with Miyetti Allah as well, do you expect that we'll see a decrease in the spate of kidnappings and killings within the north, talking about herders, farmers, clashes, and a whole lot more?
I think we're conflating completely different issues, right? Miyetti Allah, because of what they are, what they're supposed to be as an organization, and the things that have happened with regards to clashes with farmers and killings and all that, it's a different issue from the cattle rustling, from the banditry, from the kidnapping going on in parts of the north, including Zamfara. A lot of, for example, what is going on in Zamfara goes beyond farmer herdsmen clashes.
Exactly.
There's the legal mining issue. There are all sorts of issues.
A whole lot more different.
A lot of it has nothing to do with Miyetti Allah. So my point is, let's not, the assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, the assumption seems to be whatever is going on in the north, and maybe even, well, including North Central, and this is where I have an issue with it, because the assumption seems to be that this is either Miyetti Allah, whether it's a splinter group of the main organization, or at the very least, members of the organization.
Do you think the government is shooting or having negotiations with the wrong bodies?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure there's any way to, if that conversation between the minister and the Miyetti Allah was based on the Fulani herdsmen and farmers clashes, then that makes sense. Then they're talking to the right people, because that's where the conflict is. If the issue is about kidnapping, ransom, banditry, and all that other, then I don't know that for a fact, but I don't know if that's the right group they're talking to, because remember that in every part of this country, in every part of the world, there are good people, there are bad people. You're going to find kidnappers, you're going to find armed robbers, you're going to find criminals among every single ethnic group in the country. So I disagree when I hear that where you have, like on the Kaduna-Abuja highway, for example, where we've had all these spate of kidnappings. Where are we getting the information that it's Miyetti Allah guys that are perpetrating this kidnapping? I'm not sure where people are getting that information from. It might be, I'm not saying it is, it isn't. I'm just saying, how do we know it's them? But we're so quick to assume that it's these guys that are doing this. The people doing it are criminals, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying we need to separate the criminality of what these guys are doing from what the main organization. It's very possible that it's members of that group that are doing this, but I don't believe that every single act of violence being perpetrated in the north has to do with Miyetti Allah. I think that's where I have an issue with it.
Now let's also look at reactions from Tunde Bakari, that's the serving overseer of Latter Rain Assembly. Yeah. And it says that it is shameful for the presidency to even think of putting the herders group, that's Miyetti Allah, with the likes of Ohanaeze Ndigbo as well as Afenifere, and it's simply unacceptable. What do you also make of this?
I think they're not in the same category. Ohanaeze and Miyetti Allah, then there's something wrong somewhere. Then it means that you're saying that Miyetti Allah is just a front for a group of people representing the North. That's what it means. That's what it means in its entirety. And I think I find it very degenerating to say Miyetti Allah and Ohanaeze or Afenifere are in the same group, because otherwise, why didn't you call Arewa Consultative Forum, the ACF, in there? So it's, when we utter statement, we need to hear ourselves to create a balance and don't begin to create unnecessary tension in the polity, because he who comes to the law must come with clean hands. He who make a statement in position of authority must weigh the balance of that statement in such a way that you don't send the wrong signal to the wrong people. Because at the end of the day, the outcome of it, you will not be able to contain it in such a way that you have to now, do a lot more effort in trying to correct that wrong that you've done, and which is what I found happening a lot in this. Somebody shoots in this direction, before you know it, they're fighting back to try to correct that error.
Lulu, I see you nodding your head now. Do you think this is an illogical comparison?
Of course,
omitting Arewa Consultative Forum and having Miyetti Allah there?
Yeah, it is. On that I agree, because if you're going to make that comparison, you compare Miyetti Allah with I don't know if because
with the Bushers Association of Nigeria,
we have the Miyetti Allah. Remember that this pastoralist thing. I mean, on the one hand, I guess I can sort of understand the cultural reference, because Fulani pastoralist goes beyond commercial raising of cattle. There's a cultural element to it. So on the one, but in reality, there's a central body that, I don't want to say fights for, but purports to look after the interests of certain ethnic groups in the country. That's not what Miyetti Allah is for. On the Igbo side, it's the Ohanaeze group. On the Yoruba side, it's Afenifere. On the Hausa and the northern side, ACF. It's Arewa. So if you're going to make that comparison, those are the three groups you compare, not Miyetti Allah. There are other groups, there are other subgroups in both the Southwest and the Southeast that you can make that comparison with it. But it's making that is, again, if I wanted to play devil's advocate, I get the cultural reference, but no, it's not.
But
it's
we
not
tag
logical.
a whole lot of importance on these bodies. Do you think we've seen enough of representation from these bodies in terms of contributing to national development, engaging government back to back? Because beyond just the headlines we have, we never see the follow-ups.
No, I don't think so, and I think it's the same with. I mean, these groups. It's the same, in my opinion, with the Christian Association of Nigeria. It's the same thing with, I think it's called MORIC, the Muslim Rights Council. It seems their interest is supposed to be for the larger body of either it's Christians or Muslims or Hausas or Igbos or Yorubas, but the focus always seems a lot narrower to me. And it almost seems as if the people that head these organizations are more interested in, I want to say personal, not benefit, but more like personal, I'm thinking of the right word
Are you
to
trying
use,
to say they're also compromised?
Maybe not compromised, but I think their focus is too narrow for the kinds of bodies that they're supposed to be. Because if you have a group like Afenifere or Ohanese or Arewa saying that they represent Yorubas or Hausas or Igbos, then people from those groups should be able to see how these people are representing them. I'm a Yoruba person. I don't see what Afenifere does for me, to be honest. I've got Igbo friends, I've got Hausa friends. If I ask them, I bet they would say the same thing. They're not sure what Ohanese is doing for them. Does it? So when you say you represent
the reactions
interest
on political happenings, but does that tilt the pendulum anyways?
Sorry, say that again?
You have their reactions on political happenings, but does that necessarily tilt
No, it doesn't.
the pendulum? That's the question everyone asks.
No, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, like you said, when you start hearing, the times you hear these groups is when there are political discussions, for example. We're talking about 2023, for example. The Ohanese is insisting that it has to be an Igbo president. Afenifere is saying it has to be you. And these are the kinds of silly conversations that I personally associate these kinds of groups with. A few weeks ago, I think it was the head of the Christian Association of Nigeria, one of those groups, saying that I think the Speaker of the House of Reps must be a Christian. And I was looking at it and thinking, how does any of this make any sense?
How do we give relevance to these bodies now? What do you expect from them, especially looking at the spate of insecurity, killing, kidnappings, now talking about Arewa Consultative Forum, and also looking at the Miyetti Allah group putting their house in order so that we don't necessarily tag them wrongly?
I think, let me come from the Miyetti Allah point of view, and then the president of Miyetti Allah some time ago had made comment. When the Benue killing happened, he was justifying the happening. And to a lot of Nigerian sensibility, that was wrong. And he even said that if certain things do not happen, conditionality, there might be a repeat. That is not a positive, constructive way of engaging the people, the mindset of the Nigerians. Government as a body, has a right to put them to order by correcting them, by channeling them to the path of how to communicate in terms of crisis like that, because people are pained. Then Miyetti Allah, as an association of cattle breeders, need to rid itself of the bad eggs. Same way we talk of other institutions, associations.
The question is the how.
The how is simple. The how is they need to come up with a with a new methodology. Nigerians are saying that in the modern time that we find ourselves now, you cannot be moving cattle around the country anymore. You need to station them somewhere like a ranch where you can come down south.
This on the grazing bill, and the status of that as well.
Yes, where you can come round and get your feed and get to feed them, so that we can begin to embrace modernization of how to do things. And the way, if Miyetti Allah need to be spoken to, that is what I'm going to say. Because if they keep grazing around, there's no way there will not be conflict.
How can they help this with the current grazing bill now?
How they can help this is in some part of the north, they've been allocations of grazing lands apportioned to them. And I think they need to begin to show us example of how this will work by starting an incubation point and saying to all Nigerians that this is what we're doing. This is because if you're doing a lot of work, you need to communicate to the people, because people need to hear and see, demonstrate to us how you're going to carry out all this. Because when that is done, then this believability will begin to grow among the people. And when believability grow, tolerancy will be there, because they know that you can't get it right the first time. You need time, to get it right over a period of time. And then in terms of the advocacy group, which is Ohanaeze, and the advocacy is on different platform for the race in which you represent. For the Yoruba race is the Afenifere. Of course, they fall short in some areas. In some areas, they uphold. But what we're saying to them is they need to uphold themselves together and become a formidable force in such a way that every region has a group that represents them.
You see that happening? Because now we've just had just concluded elections. We have governors-elect, we have president-elect, we have the vice president-elect, and other offices coming into place. So do you think now we'll see much more active engagement? Especially, everyone is quick to say that we've had this whole track record of everybody doing nothing. So to what extent now do you think things will change and we hold our leaders accountable, especially talking about security here?
Yeah, if you note what happened in the North now, shortly after the elections, the mindset of the ruling party is that power will shift, 8 years to the North, 8 years to the South. And what happened after the election? Shortly after the election, you started hearing the fact that, no, I think the North should keep power for another period of time. And this is the role in which now, you can see the Indigbo, Ohanaeze is saying, no, power should come to us, the South. The Yorubas are saying, no, I think we earn it, we work towards it, we work towards it, we work for it. And now, the effect and the work of Afenifere needs to start now. I think they've started already, but they need to now make it more robust. They need to, create the face of different advocacy for people to hear. Because the Dawn Commission, for instance, is to integrate the Yoruba nation together by development, by infrastructural development, economic development, and integration of the people, so that the advancement of the race and the region will be better off in the federated state of Nigeria.
Wrapping up conversations now quickly, Lolu, in a sum, how would you say, or what do you expect this time around from the groups of the likes of Miyetti Allah, Arewa Consultative Forum, Ohanaeze Ndigbo Christian Association of Nigeria, all of these bodies this time around to ensure that at the end of the day, we have quality representation, we see Nigeria move forward, and there is oneness in representation?
Honestly, I'm expecting more of the same, if I'm being honest. Because I've always had this issue with regional identities in Nigeria, ethnic identities. I'm a proud Yoruba person, but I see myself first as a Nigerian before anything else. And so I think that's probably why I have an issue with groups like Afenifere.
So the divides along ethnic lines are irrelevant?
It's not that they're irrelevant, but I think they're too emphasized in Nigeria. And so with groups like these, if they're going to keep pushing, if Afenifere, for example, is pushing for their agenda.
Closer to home,
yes, yes, they are, but what is home? Because if they're pushing for a Yoruba agenda, the Ohanaeze is pushing for an Igbo agenda, Arewa is pushing for a Hausa, there is bound to be conflict at some point. It makes it harder to see yourself first as a Nigerian before anyone or any member of any of those groups. And that's what my issue with those sorts of groups. I'm not saying they don't have their roles or the useful parts that they play. I'm just saying that I think those groups, I just think they're too emphasized, and that's part of what affects our unity.
The presidency as well, which is supposed to be our unifying factor as well. What's your message to Mr. President as well to ensure that in all of the different areas of the growth of the nation, be it security, the economy, etc., what really is your message this time around?
Well, I hope he can do more for Nigerian unity than he did in his first term, because one of my biggest criticisms of the president was that I think in the way he's reacted to a lot of these things, especially the Benue killing, he did more to damage national unity than most of his predecessors. Because, politics is perception, and they say perception is reality. when there was a particularly bad one that happened, I think it was in January 2018, and the president was silent about it. Close to 100 people, over 100 people were killed. There was not a single word from the president personally. And this was when some of these guys from Mietiala came out and were making this ridiculous comments. We had ministers going on TV and saying really silly things. We had some of the president's spokespeople, including his main spokesperson, coming on TV and making these ridiculous statements. And not a single time did the president come out and say a single thing. And for the life of me, I didn't understand. Over 100 of your people have been killed. And it wasn't the first, second, or third time. That was just the worst of those ones. And it happened, the first time I heard him talk about it was when the campaign was kicking off.
Well, some would also say until justice is served, all of these people carrying out or perpetrating these killings, kidnappings, etc., until we have punishments being meted out and they're being held, well, nothing would definitely change. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Lulu Elegbe, as well as Rahman Adebiyi. It's now time to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be talking about El Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. Stay with us.
Today's top stories are
and the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. I'm here at Yunus Bashorun Street where the
fire destroyed our transformer complete. The lowest level you can.
I'm Black Bay Banjo. This is Plus TV Africa. The big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Cross Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Glad to have you back, and you're still watching Plus Politics. So now, Governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, has denied knowing lie that Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, is the godfather of Lagos politics. Is there honest denial, or as the race for 2023 subtly began? I still have with me Rahman Adebiyi, the Lagos State Chairman of Liberation Movement. Thank you very much for still staying behind.
Thank you.
And we also have Public Affairs Analyst Lulu Elegbe. Gentlemen, just recently, the governor of Kaduna State paid a visit to Lagos State, and since then, all of his comments have come with mixed reactions, and the trail continues to blaze as it is right now. And In one of his responses so far to all of these backlash, some have said it has been misconstrued, and then saying that it was unnecessarily targeted to the national leader of APC and former governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu. But now, do you think really he was not necessarily speaking to Bola Ahmed Tinubu? He says he did not mention names. Are you comfortable with that? We know this is Lagos, and we know even without mentioning names.
Well, I think he didn't mention names, and we should leave it at that. Because when people comment, I say to people, allow him what he said. Take him for the face of what he has said. He has said he didn't mention Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Take it for that. Because when you talk of Nigerian politics and godfatherism, you cannot take it away that godfatherism has been with us since 1960, when the first set of people who took over power from the British colonial masters took it, and then they needed to begin to breed new set of leaders, new set of politicians, and they took a lot of people into as mentees, and they begin to teach them the value, the quality, the character, the everything that it takes to lead.
On how to hold to power.
On how to govern and play right politics. And him coming to Lagos and to a group of people and saying that because don't forget.
And these comments came as a sideline on the side.
Don't forget that it's the same party. It's the same party. Exactly. And when he was commenting, I'm sure he has at the back of his mind that this is my party, and he's commenting that you need to break the hold of godfatherism in Lagos State. And I think he was quick because he wanted to cite an example of his own role in breaking godfatherism in Kaduna State. And he was quick to come to Lagos and say, this is how I did it. Lagosians, if you want to do the same, you can employ my strategy. He only offered his own strategy on the table. And of course, when you offer strategy on the table like that, people who are there, when they go back and have a rethink, words, when spoken, is like a broken egg. You can't put it back again. It will hit left, right, center, corner. And by the time it begins to hit,
will be read differently.
People will now begin to affirm different reasoning to it. And by the time they affirm this different reasoning to it, then those reasoning will begin to accumulate and have a different posture. And at the end of the day, that different posture, because for me, I think the party members, because APC Lagos chapter is standing behind their comment to say he has no right. APC Kaduna chapter is standing behind the right that his comment was true, is correct. You can see, same party, different line of thought. Because in Kaduna State, they believe that they had people who had godfathers in the state. And he mentioned about 4 of them, that they were retired, and this is how they went about retiring them. And he believed that, and he believed that in Lagos, if you want to do same, borrow my strategy, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work 100%. But if you borrow it and apply same, then I think you get a different result.
No, we're talking about constructive criticism now. Here, some have said, don't necessarily shoot the messenger, because there has been this backlash that, did you even have godfatherism play out as much in Kaduna State? That's one angle. Some have said that you are even a product of these same godfathers as well. So what gives you the moral justification to even open your mouth? But in all of this now, do you think it still stands his ground that he did not mention names, but in all of this, do you think that we understand to what extent the message is sending, either subtly or clearly?
Okay, first of all, I always find it funny when someone says something obvious and then says, I didn't mention names. Look, there are nuances in public comment, right? And Governor El-Rufai is a very intelligent person. So he would not have made that statement
Let me
not
give you
know
some
that
perspective to this. Now, some theories are also pushing for that El-Rufai is trying to position himself ahead of 2023, and he also sees that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also going to be in the race come 2023, although he has said this is still 2019. How do you read my mind on my behalf?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. All these are nuances, right? Because, okay, let's take it from the beginning. First of all, the dynamics in Kaduna and Lagos State are different.
Totally.
Yes, they have the Godfather thing, but then again, they have the Godfather thing in pretty much every state in this country. Now, the issue is the Godfather model is a lot clearer in Lagos State than anywhere else in the country, I think. So when you come to Lagos and you say, this is how I stopped Godfatherism in Kaduna State, so you can borrow my strategy, to use my friend's terminology, and do the same in Lagos. In my opinion, it's quite, because I like being direct, it's quite clear what he's saying. Even though he said, look, I didn't mention names. Fine, you didn't mention names. APC Kaduna said, well, what he was saying was right. And to be honest, what he was saying was right. He gave
the example that we have 6 million Lagosians and just 1 million came out to vote. And if you want to replicate what he practiced in Kaduna State,
then go after those 5 million.
Yes. Yeah, but even just having half of that to be able to shake up that group.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that, and then the political structure in Lagos State is
without
not going
a good fight.
Yeah, it's not. It won't happen, because. And then when you talk about what happened in Kaduna versus what's been happening in Lagos, like you rightly pointed out, Governor El-Rufai himself is where he is today, in some part because of Godfathers, and some have helped him along the way at some point. So you can't. I find it hard to take some of these guys seriously when they start to say these sorts of things, because it's almost like you're fine with the Godfather model when it benefits you, but you have an issue with it when it's something that is in your way. In terms, I don't know what his 2023 plans are. That's I don't know, but I've read his book, The Accidental Public Servant. I think I know enough about Governor El-Rufai to know he's a very intelligent person, and when he makes certain comments, when we start debating them this way, that's exactly what he's looking for, because those comments were not mistaken. Those comments were not, they were not reckless like some people are saying. No, they were not. They were calculated comments. He knew what he was doing when he made those comments.
He's governor-elect of Kaduna State now. To what extent do you think he's also going to be taking all of these spills that is churning out? Because at the end of the day, beyond Godfatherism, there are so many ills in Kaduna State that people are saying, don't point at the speck in my eye. Look at your very nose. You have a whole lot of mess. To what extent do you think he's going to also tend to clean up his act, if necessarily we believe he's running for 2023?
Well, I think, we have to be honest with ourselves. The whole joke now, the whole issue now is all about 2023. And he has made a lot of comments beyond this. This is just the one taking a lot of prominence among comments he has made. And for him and his display, and the way he carries himself and the way he's been carrying himself, I think this is the best time for him to go back and show Nigerians how he wishes and plan to govern better.
Talking about insecurity.
Because one of the things that if I use the word a failed state for Kaduna State, for instance, in comparison to Lagos, and what are the critical factors for you to say that a state is failing? Is if security of life is not in place, do you understand, for majority of the people? And if the economic commonwealth of the people is not improving as it should be, which is the prosperity of the people, so that you can call that state a failed state. And for him now, I think the opportunity has been given back to every newly re-elected governors to go back now and give back to the people what the people truly deserve. And what the people truly deserve? The people truly deserve development, security of life and property, good welfare. And when we talk about good welfare, it spans across a lot of things in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of provision of job, in terms of good education, good healthcare system, and all this, is what it needs to begin to run. And if he's comparing himself to Lagos, I think he needs to measure up in terms of development, so that yes, he can say to himself that yes, because I want to become president in 2023, I am doing it. Because for me, I think you should take it as a challenge to go back and show to Nigerians that I can. So that when we see how well you do that, then when you come to the interplay, either you win at the primaries or not, of course, you can have a track record to show that, yes, I can.
Okay. Well, definitely time will tell whether or not he can put his house in order. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Rahman Odebi, the Lagos State Chairman of Liberation Movement.
Thank you
very much. And also Lulu Elegbe. Gentlemen, I'm stuttering here because it's just interesting how we see all of these issues play out here day in, day out. But really, we now ask ourselves, when we make all of these statements, to what extent do we understand the language of constructive criticism? Before we even wrap up now, some have also argued that, well, the likes of Bola Tinubu is not on the same pedestal with the governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai. So in all of this back and forth, we've not necessarily heard anything from Bola Tinubu. So do you think he's taking it as some constructive criticism and also building on his armor?
Well, I honestly don't think Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is going to say anything, at least not publicly. I don't think he will. He doesn't need to, in my opinion. Because, again, we're talking about a very, very, not just intelligent, but probably one of the most politically savvy people we have in this country. So he knows. So when I mean, Governor El Rufai is not the first person to make these kinds of comments. So I'm not sure why this is the big deal that it is. People have been making this comment about godfatherism in Lagos for years. So I don't expect him to respond. Because again, first of all, I think we pointed out, he actually didn't mention any name. So will he take that as constructive criticism? No, I don't see why he would, because it's not constructive criticism. Because whatever is happening in Lagos State is different from whatever is happening in every other state in this country, first of all. I think the governor-elect of Lagos, during the debates, there was a statement, I think he was being attacked during the debate about, they were saying his Bola Tinubu's stooge and all those sorts of comments. And he made a very interesting